Hi guys, Belladonna Black here. The following stories are from the subreddit Let's Never Meet. So, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let's begin. Number 1. I had just turned 18 at the time, and I lived in a nicer part of a major city in the southwest portion of the United States. It was the summer before I went to college, and I spent a great deal of my summer visiting the man who would become my husband. He lived in a more central area of town, whereas I lived farther north, into town that was somewhat remote, and backed up a mountain range. I usually had to take a 20-minute bus ride to visit, as I don't have a car, and I never wanted to burden anyone with a ride. It was just before 6 p.m, and I was about half a mile away from my house. Walking away from the bus stop, a black car was driving really slow by me. I tried to shrug it off, but there was just something off about this. I recognised the driver as a guy who lived around the corner from my house until about 2 months ago before this incident. No one in my family had ever really spoken to him. We just knew that he was a widower, and that was why he moved. My suspicions were confirmed when I took the first turn down to my house, and he was still following, very slowly. He rolled down his window and asked if I wanted a ride. I said no, and continued walking. I am a female, and I get asked if I want a ride a lot, and most of them get lost after I say no one time, and I was hoping that would happen. He reversed and went back out onto the road where we started. I thought I lost him, until I realised he had just circled the block and ended up at the next turn in front of me, and he asked again. I said no. I was almost to my parents' house at this point. They lived at the second to the last house in the block, and I was at the beginning when the creeper came back. This time, he stopped directly in front of me. My hand hovered over the knife in my right side pocket, and I began in a brisk walk. Sure enough, he had tried to pull me into his car. As soon as I saw his door open, I let out a scream, and all my neighbours exited their homes to see what happened. The creep peeled out really quickly, and I made it home safe that night. He was driving a black Lexus. My stepfather told me that for a few months after, even after I had already moved out of the house to live at the dorms of my university, I would sometimes see that same black Lexus with a middle-aged male driver driving very slow around the neighbourhood. So creeper driving the black Lexus? Let's never meet again. Number 2. Let me start by saying that I am a cautious person, and that I am good at learning from others' mistakes. About a year ago, I was in my apartment alone, and had ordered pizza and was downloading a movie. While I waited, I went on a site called TinyChat. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a video chatting website where you talk to complete strangers. I prefer it over Omegle because you can ban anyone who has a tendency to strip or do other disturbing things. But most of the time, it was pretty fun meeting new people. Anyway, at one point in the chat room, a random guy PMs me saying, "I put something on your computer. You want me to stop?" I brushed this off because I'm pretty good with computers and I've never hacked before, but I knew how to. Besides, TinyChat is a Flash-based website. The guy sends the same message about 4 times, so I moved chat rooms and started getting along with some fun people. About 20 minutes later, the guy finds me again and says, "I gave you a chance. You decided to challenge me." I know for a fact that he jumped chat rooms looking for me, so I tell him to F off because I'm pretty annoyed at this point. Then another guy messages me. He says, "Your camera is displaying something not supported by TinyChat. It looks like a data miner. That is really bad." I know the guy is lying because it didn't even make sense, so I play around with him a bit. I say, "What is that? How did it get there? How did I get rid of it?" He replies, "It's the worst thing ever. He can hack into your computer. Maybe go in a private chat room with him and talk." At that moment, I know they're working together. How else would he know a person on TinyChat put it on my computer? Why else would he suggest something so stupid? So I agree, taking screenshots the whole time and struggling to set up my recording gear. I open a private chat with the wannabe hacker and ask him questions like, "What do you want?" He replies, "Do what I say and I won't hurt your family." The guy is so cliche it's painful, and the card doesn't open his camera. What are you going to tell me to do? Stand up. I want to check you out. Being a smartass, I stand up and keep the camera at my shoulders, not showing anything lower. Put the camera down, bitch. So I put it down, but face it towards a poster of the Big Bang Theory. You must really want me to hack your computer. Bazinga. That's it. Lift up your skirt. I'm going to ask you to strip. But I'm not wearing any good underwear. You had your chance, and you blew it. Now I'm going to find out where you live. If you change your mind, you know where to find me. But I thought I blew my chance. There was no answer. I closed the chat browser and continue having fun until the pizza comes. If I hadn't known much about computers, I probably would have fell for it. And who knows what would have happened. I could have been on some deep website or in this sick, pathetic loser's photo album. I was going to keep this funny little story to myself, but I decided to share it in case anyone else had run-ins with people like this. You just wanted news to blackmail me with, or to sell on some site. You could have done no harm to me, and he can do no harm to you, whoever is reading this. So if you run into someone like this on any chat room website, ignore them, or have fun with them. Loser on the other side of the screen, let's never meet. Unless you wish to be humiliated. Number 3. So, this happened about a month ago, and is still continuing today. So there's this game me and my younger sister made up called Hide and Seek in the Dark. This one game felt off. So the game started off with my sister's friend being it. Basically, how you play is easy. It has to be dark outside. All the lights in the room are off, and the door is shut. The person who is it has to try and find them in the pitch black. So carrying on, my sister's friend, who we will call Amy, was it. And after 60 seconds, we heard the door unlock and open. Now this was a bit off, because 1, you can't unlock the door without some sort of thin object, which we didn't have upstairs. And 2, she didn't have any money on her at any point in the day. So back to the door unlocking. When it opened, slowly and eerily creaked, and a taller figure walked in. Because my younger sister was next to me, I tapped her shoulder and motioned to her, "Be quiet." The guy started to look around the room, slowly turning his head to make sure he saw every inch of the room. Thankfully, I had a chair in front of me and a tiny pool stick next to me. I slowly and quietly grabbed the pool stick and lifted it up. But by the time I got up, the guy had gone out and shut the door so quietly I couldn't even hear the door creak. All of a sudden, I heard a blood-curdling scream come from downstairs. That's when I realised my mum was downstairs. Now, I'm not the type of kid you want to mess with. I'm 13 and pretty strong kid, so I clutched the pool stick and literally jumped down the stairs and sprinted to the living room. I knew that if this guy even fucking did as much as scratch my mum, I would kill him. I kicked the door open and I saw the guy grabbing my mum's bra and slowly pulling it down. I flipped at that very moment. I ran up to the guy and jumped on his back and started hitting him in the neck and face with the stick. I realised that the stick had started to break, so I dropped it and started punching him as the guy was still trying to strip my mum. The guy then gave up and threw me off his back. My sister screamed this time, and if this crazy fuck thinks he can do the same to her, he is in for a fucking surprise. I grab a knife from the kitchen and run upstairs. I see the guy trying to get into my room. Then he sees me. Before he has a chance to hit me, I stab him in the thigh and he lets out a loud cry, runs into the bathroom and jumps out the window. Also, my sister's friend Amy was never found. There was a search around the house and all that was found was her blood in the bathroom. A few weeks after this happened, we have got tons of letters from who we think is the guy. We have sent them to the police and are still waiting for results. Number 4. Okay, a little backstory. Once a year, me and my younger brother take a trip down to London to see our relatives, and this event took place in the year of 2011. I was aged 25 and my brother was 22. My first thing comes to mind is that me and my brother decided to go to the local nightclub. We got there and had a few drinks and danced with a few of the local girls. At this point, I thought that the night would be smooth and nothing would go wrong. I decided to sit down since dancing would make me sweat and it was getting quite late, by 2:30 a.m. I was sitting down for no longer than 5 minutes when I noticed two guys eyeing my brother. Didn't look like they had any positive intentions the way they were weighing up my brother. My brother came and sat next to me breathless from the dancing. He said he needed some water and I agreed with him to go and get some. We walk over to the bar and ask the bartender to give a bottle of water. The bartender hands over one. We both take large, long gulps of the water. Even at this point, the two men were still glaring at my brother, and we were no more than 10 feet from them. At this point, my brother notices and asks the guys, "What the fuck are you staring at?" Keep in mind, my brother is really drunk, and I expected him to do something like this sooner or later. The two guys stood up and walked towards the exit of the nightclub, but not before my brother follows them and pushes one of other of them over just outside the exits. Also, my brother is not exactly a small guy. He's 6'5" and weighs about 230 pounds, so picking a fight with him isn't really a smart move. The guy he pushed over just stood up and walked towards my brother and tried to get in my brother's face. The guy must have been around 6 foot tall, and his friend, who was much smaller than he was. He had a hard time holding his friend back. I escorted my brother back to the club. I got our stuff and left the club. We were walking for about 15 minutes when I heard a loud thud. I turned to my right and saw my brother lying face down on the concrete. It was the same man, and he was holding a crowbar. He stared right at me with fire in his eyes. Then he started violently swinging the crowbar at me. I'm just going to add this, but I'm around 6'6" and weigh about the same as my brother. At this point, the man is really trying to pummel me with that crowbar, but luckily for me, I managed to grab the crowbar and struggle it away from him. The next thing I remember is being hit at the back of my legs and me crashing to the floor. The main man takes the weapon away from his friend, which coincidentally was also a crowbar, and points it at me. He then attempts to strike me with the crowbar, but not before my brother thrashes the man with the other crowbar. The man hits the floor and his accomplice sprints away. My brother's head is dripping with blood, but he says he's okay. He helps me up and I limp to a nearby bench. My brother calls for an ambulance. The ambulance arrives and I'm being attended to. Shortly after the ambulance arrives, the police arrive. They ask me and my brother some questions. By 10 minutes later, the man my brother hit with the crowbar is pronounced dead at the scene. My brother's a bit shaken, but he held it together. I, on the other hand, am in shock, but extremely grateful. I don't know what I would have done if my brother had not woken up after being hit that man. We rarely talk about what happened simply because it was traumatizing for both of us. Knowing my brother had to end a life to save mine is really scary. So younger brother, you saved my life. I am forever grateful. And to the other guy that was there that night, I hope we never meet again. Number 5. This happened to a friend of mine, Sarah, about 3 years ago. For some background, she is 5 foot and 100 pounds, dripping wet, and ginger. She is fluent in Spanish since we did a semester abroad in Spain. This ability is what saved her life. Sarah works at a department store, and since she is over 18, she often works until the store closes at 11. Her mother usually picks her up since they lived in a somewhat dangerous neighbourhood. However, on this particular night, her mother was visiting a sick friend, so Sarah had to take the bus home. After Sarah boarded the bus, she put off one of her headphones in and began to listen to music. Shortly after she boarded, 2 Hispanic males in their 20s got on and sat behind her and began to speak in Spanish. Since only one headphone was in, she could hear them, and what she heard made her think something bad was going to happen. The men began to talk about her and what they were going to do to her. What they said is disgusting, so I won't repeat it, but essentially they were planning on raping her. At this point, Sarah's really feeling out, but trying to act dumb, so they don't know if she understands them. She begins texting her mum and boyfriend, but neither answer her. She tries calling her mum, but gets her voicemail, so she tries her boyfriend, and thank God he picks up. Sarah tells her boyfriend she bought something for his mother's birthday, so he should really check his phone and call her back. Confused, he hangs up and less than 2 minutes later calls her back and tells her to get off at the next stop and run home, that he will be there as soon as he can. 2 steps later, Sarah grabs her bag and bolts off the bus and starts to run home. Men follow Sarah off the bus and were now chasing her and catcalling her. Since she is short, her strides are shorter and the men are catching up to her. So once she reaches her house, she busts through the fence gate and up the stairs, but her hands are shaking so she can't unlock the door right away, and the men catch up to her. One of the men clamps their hand over her mouth and wraps his arms around her waist and throws her to the ground. Sarah begins to scream, and as they hold her down and in the distance she can hear sirens, but the men are still attacking her. Then all of a sudden one of the men flies 4 feet backwards and smashes her porch railing, followed by another one shortly thereafter, and standing over her is her boyfriend. The cops show up and took the men to jail. They were convicted of aggravated assault and attempted rape and are still in jail. Sarah and her boyfriend are now engaged, and even though this ended well, it could have turned out much worse. So, to the men who almost raped my friend, let's never meet. Hi guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below and subscribe to my channel.